Yo guys, Spotter here, and it's here, man. They just released Treyarch. They just released the cinematic intro for Origins Black Ops 2 DLC number 4, Apocalypse Zombies Origins. And it includes the track Shepherd of Fire from Avenged Sevenfold. So let's take a look at the full trailer, and then we're going to try and break it down. There's a lot here. There's a lot to it. So we're going to try and do that, but let's take a look right now. Epic! Yeah!
It began long ago, on the battlefields of the Great War. Two German scientists sought to harness dark and mysterious forces buried for centuries. They believed their discoveries would assure Germany's ultimate victory. What they could never have imagined was just what else their research would unearth.
Well, what do you guys think? What an epic cinematic, a good introduction, awesome introduction of the characters. We saw some different weapons, we saw some different things. We're going to highlight a bunch of things from the video with just still images and sort of focus in on it and have a little discussion. Yes, I know the narrator. Hi, it's Samantha. That doesn't sound like Samantha Man. We'll talk about that after we look at all the images, okay? So let's start with this one. This is the first one. We see as sort of the exterior of the bunker, and we have these two signs. The first one, they're both pointing to the left, obviously through that underpass. The first one says Pump Station Number 3, and the second one is No Man's Land. And No Man's Land, just to let you guys know, that was a term applied to the area between the opposing trenches of armies, right? So you have, let's say, the French army and the German army. They have their trenches, and then you have this basically what is an open field. It's covered by, it's controlled by snipers. It's controlled by artillery, enemy infantry, barbed wire, mines. I mean, you can't really survive in no man's land. And if you want to attack the other force, I mean, yeah, there are flanking things you can do, but if you wanted to do a full frontal attack, I mean, you got to cross over that no man's land. And I'm sure you've seen it in movies where people just get slaughtered trying to get to the enemy trenches. So that's, I guess, that's where the Pump Station 3 and No Man's Land just directing you. I'm assuming there are going to be other signs on the map directing you to specific locations on the map. The next image we've got here is a photo of Dr. Ludwig Maxis and Dr. Edward Richthofen. And just focusing on the photos, you see the 935 in the background, Group 935 in the background for Maxis. And he looks a lot older than I would have expected based on his voicing throughout the maps, you know, in Black Ops 2, Black Ops towards the end in particular. And I'm just going to note where we're located. You can see in the background you have the Meuse, I guess they called it Meuse Department in France. And that's just basically like an area of land. And there are a couple of cities and locations in Meuse, and I've looked up a few of them. I mean, you've got Dizier at the bottom. You've got Bar-le-Duc is that Bar-le-Duc or Bar-le-Duc? And then you have Verdun. The most interesting thing when I was doing a little bit of research was in Verdun, because it sort of gives us possibly a little background as to the beginning when we saw what we thought in the original trailer. Or actually, it wasn't in the trailer. It was a photo that was released the other day by Treyarch of that soldier. We thought perhaps it was, Group 935 / Knights of the Templar soldier, right? Well, if you go back to the history of Verdun, and we're just looking on Wikipedia here, Verdun was part of the Middle Kingdom of Lotharingia. In 1374, it became an imperial free city of the Holy Roman Empire. So what I'm thinking when we see these guys breaking into this excavation site and you see these zombies, it looks like they're part of that Holy Roman Empire from, dating back to 1374 and probably, 100 or so years after that. So it looks like they're unearthing possibly, and we'll get to a couple other pictures, possibly unearthing these zombies that have been either previously infected or they somehow became infected because of what the German army was doing at this excavation site. Now, this is obviously a common symbol we see throughout the trailer on crates, on possibly one of the pillars in one scene. But Group 935, obviously, these guys are the ones running or trying to run these experiments, part of this whole German mechanization / Element 115. We're going to take over the world and produce these fantastic weapons that are going to destroy the Allies, and they're going to take over. Now, we see this device here, not sure exactly what it's intended for. It looks like it's some sort of contraption that may be associated with the experiments using Element 115. One thing to note, there is a chalk outline in the background at the bottom left of this image. Pretty hard to make out what it is. Now, I was live streaming this earlier. Some of the people mentioned it may be a claymore. It kind of looks shaped in a way that a claymore would be, but I'm not sure if there would be claymores in this map. Maybe bouncing betties. Bring the bouncing betties back. They were awesome. Now, here's an image of the Element 115 meteorite, and it kind of looks similar to the one that we've seen in Shinonuma, though it's glowing blue. It's glowing blue here, and we see indications of this blue glow not only in the excavation site where we first see those Roman soldiers come to life as zombies, but also in another image we're going to show that looks like there's an experiment of some sort going on, or they're building a contraption of some sort using Element 115. I think, though, previously, we've seen this rock glow sort of orange. So perhaps there's this connection between the zombies and the blue glowing eyes and the zombies with the orange glowing eyes, and some sort of connection back to the Element 115. Now, here's that image of that structure where it looks like they're using some of that element 115 as part of something, a test structure of some form. We thought perhaps maybe that's what they were using to create this 1,000-foot robot or mechanization. And some people in the comments of the live stream mentioned, well, perhaps it's the early prototypes for the teleporters. And we know, listening to the history and the radios and everything going back in previous maps, that they had teleportation working. There was, it was working. And we're assuming here, and obviously we're going to have to play the map and see how it pans out, but we're assuming that all those things occurred between Richtofen and Maxis. All those things occurred before this period in time, because we're going to see that this is the first time the characters meet. And we know, even going back to some of the quotes from Richtofen on Ascension, they performed experiments on Nikolai, I believe, in Tokyo. They I think Richtofen expressed maybe a bit of regret about the stuff that he had done to Nikolai, perhaps pushing him more towards the vodka, right? He always wants the vodka. Where's my vodka? So again, looking at the teleportation and the events with Samantha and between Maxis and Richtofen, all that has occurred previous to this point in time. So this is where we get our first close-up glimpse of what we're thinking again is this Holy Roman soldier. And he ends up ripping the head off this guy, one of the guys that's excavating this site, right? And we get a front view, the same view that we had off that image that was posted by Treyarch the other day. And then we see all these holy Roman soldiers attacking all these guys that are at the excavation site, right? And I'm assuming later on in the trailer, during the attack or shortly after the attack. I think it must be sometime after the attack. That's when you see the 4 characters come into play, and the initial attack from the orange-eyed zombies. Because if you look at this guy, he's got the sort of bluish/purple eyes, but then there's all the zombies that look like they've been resurrected from sort of the no man's land area, right? That's where all the corpses are going to be, and a bunch of buried corpses, the reanimated zombies that are coming out of the ground. They're all orange-eyed. So, is the thinking here, and we had quite a discussion in the live stream, is the thinking here that perhaps these Roman soldiers were infected by this element 115, whether it occurred in the past and they were buried at this excavation site. So, going back to Tunguska and the whole element 115 event in 1908, if we're talking, in the 1400s for these Roman soldiers to have been infected, were they infected back then? Or were they just buried in this location and they were infected due to the excavation and the what they were doing, the experiments with element 115? And prior to what happened with Samantha, these guys were infected. Therefore, maybe there was no control. They were just infected by element 115. They were just zombies. And then when the events between Maxis and Richtofen took place and Samantha, then there was control of the zombies by Samantha. But we still have to have that little discussion about, okay, Samantha, what's with the voice? So then we get the character introduction, starting with Tank Dempsey. He's got the, I believe that's the MG08 from the other trailer that was released last week. And what's also interesting to note is that each of these characters seem to have a different melee weapon. Now, I know you can go back to the intro cinematic for Call of the Dead, when the characters, I think one of them used a pitchfork, etc., but you never actually got to use those melee weapons in game. I'm hoping that these guys are going to have different starting melee weapons. That would be kind of cool, because we do have Tank Dempsey with the just the regular sort of knife, and we're going to see what the other characters have. Also, one thing to note, it looks like the Remington Model Army is back, and it looks like Dempsey is sporting that beast of a handgun here in this trailer. Then we've got Nikolai. He's got the confirmed starting pistol for Origins, the Mauser, and he's also his melee weapon is it's not really an axe. I guess it's more of a hatchet. You can call it like a throwing hatchet or whatever. He obviously is using it to chop the zombies up, and he ends up throwing it at one of the zombies. And then he retrieves it. Somebody made a quip about, he's actually it's like a retriever, because he threw it and then he went and retrieved it. That's kind of funny. And then also he's using the Olympia shotgun here. Now, next up is Takio. The only difference with him is he has a sword. He has a Mauser as well. I don't think he had another weapon on him, unlike Dempsey and Nikolai. But that sword was pretty effective. I mean, he made effective use of that. So I'm hoping that these melee weapons are for each of the characters. And then the first time we see Richtofen, he's got this bone saw. There's this body on the table, and he's obviously cut the head off, the top of his head off, and I think he was missing a hand in one of the other images from the other trailer. So I don't know. Maybe he's going to start off with his saw. I don't see how effective it can be versus the zombies. Now, one thing people were mentioning is that the possibility that that was actually Maxis on the table. Now, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I'm not going to go with that one. It doesn't look like he has much of a beard, and it looks like it's almost a zombie experiment, perhaps. Not sure. But the one thing that kind of struck me was that Richtofen looks like he's a little bewildered. It looks like he's not exactly sure what's going on. When the other characters broke in, he had that bone saw. Then he put it down. He's kind of looking at his hands like, what did I do here? What is going on? So there's something at play here. And I think, I'm going to speculate and sit here for however many minutes and try and speculate about it. But hopefully the storyline that as we play out Origins is going to give us some of that info. I'm really hoping that Origins, with the storyline within it and with the character interaction and Easter eggs and whatever. I mean, they're touting this as the biggest map ever, I guess. So I'm hoping that they're going to fill in a lot of those blanks for us that have popped up ever since the advent of World at War Zombies on Noctur Untoten. And then at the very end of the trailer, after they're all done looking at each other, all of a sudden this light is coming down from the sky. And they all look up, and there's this epic 1,000-foot robot looking down on them with this orange glow coming out of his eyes, right? And we've seen images of zombies within, or a zombie within the exoskeleton, or whatever you want to call it, for lack of a better word. The other thing to note is the cross that is on the chest of the robot, and I believe that is a German symbol. So, these guys, these Germans, and there was talk in the letters, and we do have another letter. Treyarch released another letter from Nikolai. There was talk in the letters of the Germans trying to mechanize. They're creating, these mechanizations or whatever, whether it be robots or tanks or this whole diesel punk thing that Treyarch was pushing forward here, right? They were trying to mechanize this stuff, and it stands to reason that this was part of one of their experiments or constructions that has obviously gone slightly awry. And then we have to go back to this voice, right? Is this Samantha? Come on. Does this sound like Samantha? I don't know. Maybe she's been chain smoking for the last 40 years, but here she is again right at the end of the trailer.
My name is Samantha. I'm going to tell you how all this really began.
Now, again, we had some discussion about this on the live stream. Is this Samantha or is it another person? Did Maxis name Samantha after this person was somebody in control of Maxis and Samantha and right? Or is this Samantha talking from the future? When every story has a beginning and an end, is somehow, are we going to complete something on this map like you saw in the Mob of the Dead, where you actually completed the Easter egg and it ended the game? And that was the first time that has ever happened, I believe, in COD Zombies, right? I mean, usually you have the Easter egg, you complete it, you carry on, right? Where in Mob of the Dead, it just sort of ended. Is the same thing going to happen here? Are we going to complete something on Origins, and that's going to give us, and this would be absolutely epic, either a cutscene or some new area to explore that's in the future that where we maybe even see Samantha, and that's who's narrating this trailer and who will narrate perhaps on the map itself. It's a future Samantha. She's been in the ether. Maybe she's just been sucking in too much ether, and she's I'm a Samantha, and I tell you how that starts, right? So I don't know. Anyways, that's what we were thinking on the stream. And again, the last thing that we wanted to go through here was Nikolai's letter that Treyarch just released today. So let's take a look at that now. February 23rd, 1918. Despite the abdication, my country remains gripped by civil war. Reds and whites battle for power as I am forced to watch helplessly from afar. Despite I believe that's the March Treaty, many among us do not expect lasting peace. Our memories will not allow us to forget the tens of thousands of souls lost at Tannenberg. This war remains a threat to all our futures. The people of France share my hatred and contempt for not sure what that says. They have been very kind to me on my journeys, offering me food, shelter, and other more worldly comforts. Really, Nikolai? You ladies, man. It is a great relief that even amongst the madness of war, I may still find moments of joy in the arms of a good woman. Nikolai. How many wives has he been through? I don't know. Anyways, it looks like he's still progressing on his journey, and this is shortly before we see them come together on Origins like we did in the trailer. So, yeah, that's it, guys. Woo! 1 week to go. In exactly 1 week, make sure you guys are over with us on the 27th. We're going to be live streaming Origins when it releases. 5 a.m. Catch us probably even before 5 a.m. the morning of September. No, we're in August. August 27th. The morning of August 27th. And we'll likely be streaming for 4 days straight. With some, sleep breaks, obviously, at night in there at some point. But it's going to be pretty epic. We got tons of giveaways, including we're working on getting you guys some DLC codes, not only for multiplayer camos, and hopefully we can secure those not only for Xbox 360, but also for PS3 and PC. And we're also working on getting some Apocalypse DLC codes for you guys on Xbox 360 for giveaways during those days, probably more so along the first 2 days that we stream, the 27th and 28th. So hope to catch you guys there, and we'll see you soon. If there's any other information that Trek releases on Origins, we'll be sure to cover it and bring it to you guys. Yeah! Looking forward to it. That was a pretty epic trailer, huh? Yeah, I think so. I'm Spider, and I'm out.